We are going on an adventure together. I'm taking you with me. And I mean it literally and I mean it figuratively. We're going to read The Fellowship of the Ring in November as part of the Lone Star Book Club. And I am so excited about this. I've been looking forward to this all year. My name's Randy Ray. I'm the host of The Literate Texan. This is my little YouTube channel where we talk about books and literature, highbrow, lowbrow, everything in between. I would consider The Lord of the Rings to be just shy of highbrow, but it's certainly a far cry from lowbrow too. You know, a lot of your major literary critics, snobbish types, would think that The Lord of the Rings is a fantasy novel, and it's kind of ghettoized as a fantasy novel. Well, let me tell you something. It's far more than just a fantasy novel. It's far more than just a good fantasy novel. It's far more than just a great fantasy novel. It is the fantasy novel upon which they've built the entire fantasy literary genre upon. It is the bedrock upon which it is built. Without The Lord of the Rings and without the Fellowship of the Ring, fantasy as we know it today in terms of literature would not exist. Have you never read The Lord of the Rings before? Perfect. This is the perfect event for you. This is the perfect time to read it. Have you read The Lord of the Rings before, but it's been a long time and you just need to revisit it? Well, that's also perfect, okay? That's also perfect. Absolutely perfect. I'm in that latter category, you know, and I was obsessed with The Lord of the Rings when I was a very, very young toddler. Well, not even a toddler, but I did read the novel 6 times before the 6th grade, and then I've read it maybe twice since then. So it's been a long time since I've actually read The Lord of the Rings. So I'm as excited about this as anybody else. And we've got a schedule, and I'm going to tell you all about how the schedule works and how the discussions works. But first, I'm going to give you a little background on how this came to be. I host a book club here at, it's called the Lone Star Book Club, and I've been hosting it for a year now. And we read Dracula in October for 3 different reasons. 1, it's the month of Halloween, so you should read something scary. 2, it's Victober, which means we should read some Victorian literature. Dracula is a Victorian horror novel, Victorian Gothic novel, so it fit the bill perfectly. And also, it's just plain fun. And all the books that I try to choose for us to read in the Lone Star Book Club are both fun, but also really worthwhile in a lot of different ways. And so that's why we chose Dracula. The reason we're following Dracula up with The Fellowship of the Ring is because I read an article or a section of a book that Stephen King had written where he explains that The Stand is basically his retelling or his version of The Lord of the Rings. And The Lord of the Rings is just J.R.R. Tolkien's retelling of Dracula. Now, I don't know if Tolkien would agree with that. I don't know that Tolkien was consciously imitating Dracula, but I can certainly see the similarities already. And I haven't read The Lord of the Rings in years and years, but I did just finish reading Dracula. We had so much fun reading Dracula. You couldn't ask for a better book club to belong to. The people in this book club who participated in these Dracula discussions, we've had the discussions on Voxer. We have a Voxer group specifically for it. And then we also have discussions in the comments of the videos. I post a Friday video throughout the month where we discuss in the comments certain things that I want to talk about as they relate to the novel. And we're going to do the exact same thing in November. Every Friday in November, excluding this first Friday, okay? But every Friday in November, we're going to read a certain number of chapters. Usually it's going to be about 5 chapters. There's about, 5, 10, 15, 20. There's about 20 chapters per volume of these 3 volumes. And so we're looking at basically reading between 80 and 100 pages a week. It's not a lot of reading. I mean, we're talking 10 to 15 pages per day, depending on whether or not you take a day or 2 off each week. So yeah, this is not an overwhelming amount of reading if you just take it a piece at a time. It's like how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time. That's exactly how we're going to read The Lord of the Rings, especially The Fellowship of the Ring. Okay, so I just wanted to say this too. If you've read anything about J.R.R. Tolkien, you know, any of his biographies or his letters or done any kind of research, know anything about his friendship with C.S. Lewis and the Inklings, the literary society, got together with, and they read stories to each other while they were drinking apple cider in front of a roaring fire. Sounds wonderful to me. But you would know that Tolkien would want us to read this book this way. He would be very supportive of us, because it's very likely that he wanted this book to be read slowly, carefully, thoughtfully, and together. And I think that's what a lot of people miss when they read The Lord of the Rings. They don't necessarily read it with other people. And I think that togetherness aspect of it is going to create some real magic in November, December, and January. Because in December, we're going to read The Two Towers, and in January, we're going to do The Return of the King. We're going to read the entirety of The Lord of the Rings. So we're starting with The Fellowship of the Ring. And so I'm going to post the actual serious official reading schedule down below. But I will talk about, it's going to be in 4 parts, basically. The first part is set at Bilbo Baggins' birthday party. He's got a magic ring, which he leaves to Frodo as he tramps off on an adventure as an elderly hobbit. And then Frodo's got to figure out what to do with the ring. And eventually they decide that he needs to leave the Shire too. And so he leaves the Shire. And then not too long after that, they wind up in the Old Forest. They meet Tom Bombadil, who was not in the movies. So you've got that to look forward to. Eventually they have some trouble on Weathertop and at the Barrow Downs, which is kind of a cemetery. But eventually they make it to a town called Rivendell, which is a friendly town run by Elrond, the half-elf, and they form a fellowship. Now, you might remember you might remember some places where we discussed Dracula. There were a couple of chapters there where I complained that it was really slow because they were just getting together and talking to each other. It's like, oh, I like the cut of your jib. Well, I like the cut of your jib too. We should team up. Yes, we've got to stop this bad thing from happening. We've got to protect the ladies. Okay, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring does have its version of this sequence called the Council of Elrond, and it does tend to go on a very long period of time. And it's a lot of exposition in one place. It's okay. It's part of the charm of the book, but it is there, so be ready for it. So they eventually leave Rivendell with the Fellowship of the Ring, and they wind up at Moria. Moria is an ancient abandoned mine that belonged to the dwarves, and they're going through the ruins of Moria underground to try to get to the other side so they can take the ring to where they're taking the ring, and things get real hairy in the mines of Moria. And there's a big ending, big finale that I'm really looking forward to discussing. It's one of the most emotional parts of the book. It was one of the most emotional parts of the movie, but that's the battle at the bridge of Khazad-dûm, and then the Fellowship eventually is broken. So, which is really interesting to me that you've got this fantasy adventure book where they form a fellowship. They don't form the fellowship until halfway through the first book in the trilogy, and by the end of the first book of the trilogy, the fellowship's already broken. So yeah, the fellowship doesn't last very long. There's going to be spoilers, any kind of discussion of this. I don't think any of those are major spoilers. It's an old book. Most of you have probably seen the movie. A lot of you have probably read it. But yeah, I'm not going to be chicken about spoilers here. So that's it. That's what I got for you today. We're going on an adventure, and I'm really excited to be taking you with me. If any of the folks that participated in the Dracula month of October are also going to be involved in this, we're just in for a tremendously good time. So what you want to do is you want to look for every Friday. There's going to be a new video discussing it. There will be details in all the videos in the description about how to join the Voxer group to continue the discussion there. And then, of course, you can always contact me directly about anything you want. I'm one of the most open and friendly guys you'll ever meet on YouTube, I hope. Anyway, all my contact information is going to be in the description down below too. And until my next video, I want to thank you for watching. I hope you're going to join us for this special read-along of The Fellowship of the Ring. Stay sexy, folks, and stay hydrated.